But to turn it over to Shawn, she's going to be covering SBA loans for CBD and hemp businesses. And I think it's a really timely, applicable thing. So let me go ahead and mute myself, Shawn, and spotlight your video. Take it away.
Thanks, Heather, or sorry, thanks, Jax, and thanks, Heather, too. I thought that was great and kind of aligns with what I'm going to talk about here, which is the SBA's prohibitions on allowing marijuana businesses to have access to loan programs and other important relief that other small businesses are afforded. And it's a critical time for folks to get engaged with their state representatives and help us change this unfair policy. So I'm going to go over the current policy and what businesses can do to join industry efforts to reform the policy, and super excited to be with fellow Texans today and celebrate 420. So great to be with everybody. I'm gonna give a shot at a screen share here. Okay. So as many of you know, the federal government has been providing, disaster assistance in the form of low interest loans and other relief to small businesses affected by the coronavirus. Their main program has been the Payment Protection Program, which covers payroll costs, mortgage interest, utilities, and many other fees. And just like marijuana businesses are prohibited from other important federal benefits, the SBA has taken a firm position on marijuana businesses, direct and indirect, not being eligible for disaster relief. And their definitions of what constitutes what they call a marijuana-related business is incredibly broad. So they say eligibility is determined by the nature of this business's specific operations. But essentially, any business that's a direct marijuana business, i.e. a plant touching business, is not going to be eligible, even though those businesses may be operating quite compliantly under state law. It also prohibits indirect marijuana businesses from being eligible for disaster relief. And this includes anyone, pretty much anyone that derives direct revenue from marijuana businesses. So it could be a consultant. Law firms like ours, Sederberg, are not eligible for loans. It doesn't include, your IT guy fixing your computer or the plumber, but really anyone who derives general revenue directly from a marijuana business isn't going to be eligible. And the definition is just incredibly broad. They did, in their guidance is from 2019, confirm that hemp businesses who are compliant with the 2018 Farm Bill are eligible. However, even where businesses are eligible, hemp or businesses that are so far attenuated from direct operations, we're still seeing a lot of folks have trouble getting serviced by banks. A lot of banks are still resistant to work with cannabis businesses, even if they're hemp. Even if they might be eligible, and we're still seeing just sort of the prohibition era roadblocks that there's still a lot of progress needed. And it's important to know that you cannot lie about your eligibility with respect to an application. Applicants for these loans are required to certify under the penalty of perjury that the information they provide, which includes a certification as to eligibility and that the business is not engaged in any activity that's illegal under federal law. You have to sign the certification under penalty and perjury that that's true. And there's pretty significant penalties for for knowingly making a false statement, including imprisonment and hefty fines. And previous federal assistance programs, in previous recessions, there was a lot of litigation around false claims and fraudulent loan activity. So it's incumbent as us as a compliant and moral industry to not lie on the application. And as many of you might have heard, the payment protection funds have actually been exhausted, but I understand Congress is close to another stimulus package, which will hopefully include more funding for this program and clarification on expanded eligibility for cannabis businesses. So what are we going to do, and what are we doing as the industry to fix this? There's been great efforts and great progress by the cannabis industry organizations and by representatives in states with marijuana programs to get Congress to ensure eligibility for these organizations or for the industry, and to push SBA on this issue. The first letter came on March 20th from a coalition of industry organizations, including NCIA, Cannabis Trade Federation, National Cannabis Roundtable, and it really did a good job of highlighting just the inequity. We are tax-paying, state law-abiding citizens who are creating jobs and suffering as much of a hardship, and in some cases more, because we have so many disadvantages from not being able to access many federal programs like bankruptcy, that it's really just incredibly unjust for cannabis businesses not to be afforded the federal relief packages. And it really does risk these businesses having to shut down and forcing people to turn to the black market, and that's really a public health and safety issue. And this letter did a really good job of explaining that we're not seeking special treatment. We're wanting to be treated equally as other law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, and we're our businesses are subject to the requirements of other employers under these stimulus programs too. We're just not afforded the benefits. So it's quite fundamentally unfair. On March 26th, 11 senators, led by Jackie Rosen of Nevada, and including Michael Bennet and Cory Booker from Colorado, sent a letter to state governors and treasurers on this issue, and really highlighted the issues that the businesses in their states were facing, and that in fact, this really goes to disproportionately impact minority entrepreneurs who were already disadvantaged from cannabis laws and the way the industry is growing. And the industry asked in an April 8th letter, there was a letter sent to state governors and treasurers, and basically encouraging congressional delegations to put language into the next stimulus package that enables marijuana businesses to access relief loans, and to consider creating state level lending programs so that states can determine to make these funds available to cannabis businesses in their states, instead of having the federal government dictate ineligibility. And this was another one signed by a coalition of the major cannabis industry organizations. And it's yet to see whether that's going to come to fruition in the next package, but we'll know very soon. Representative Blumenauer, Barbara Lee, and others have really led this effort. Another letter came on Friday, and this was signed by 34 members of Congress, which was substantial, really putting on the pressure to include marijuana businesses in the upcoming relief package. And Nancy Pelosi has made public statements with respect to her support for this, and the fact that they're prioritizing this issue and having these conversations, and that they hope that there's favorable language for the industry in this package or the next one. There's also, even though hemp businesses are eligible for federal relief programs, and the SBA has been clear on that, there are some issues with the way the eligibility is described, where we need clarity to ensure hemp businesses are protected. Traditionally, SBA loans are not available to agricultural enterprises because their agricultural enterprises generally get loans from through USDA, Farm Service Agency. But in this case, it appeared that the intent of SBA was to include hemp businesses as recipients for disaster relief loans, and the types of loans provided by USDA are not really targeted towards crises and disaster relief. So the hemp industry organization is pushing SBA to provide clarity that agricultural enterprises, which include hemp farmers, are in fact eligible for SBA programs. And in practice, we're seeing banks just be very confused on that issue, and it's been an obstacle for some farmers applying for loans. There's also an important bill in Congress, the Ensuring Safe Capital Access for All Small Business Act of 2019, Representative Velasquez, which would remove cannabis from the schedule of controlled substances, and it would prohibit SBA from declining to provide certain small business loans to an eligible entity just because it's a cannabis related business or an ancillary service provider. This bill, as many other cannabis bills do, has a low chance of success, but it's good progress, and it's strong language, and it's important to get more support behind it. And it's, I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting involved in ensuring that there's reform on these issues. This, is critical to the survival of our industry, and we should be treated like other small businesses. We're startups, we already don't have access to banking. There are so many obstacles that already threaten our survival, that not being able to access these business loans, which are making it or breaking it for many other small businesses, is an incredible disadvantage. And there's a lot of ways to help. So as I mentioned, all the major industry organizations, including NORML, are very involved in this effort and working together. There's been incredible collaboration on this issue by the industry organizations. So getting involved with the cannabis industry organizations on the state and national levels, reaching out to your state representatives, making sure they're aware of the issue, how it affects the cannabis business, if you have a cannabis business, how it's directly affecting you, and getting them to sign on to these letters, to increase our numbers as future letters come, and to put pressure on Congress is what really needs to happen here. And donate and support the industry organizations however you can. We at Vicente Sederberg are tracking this all closely. I've included on the PowerPoint a link to our website, which is updated daily and outlines all of the potential relief available on state and federal levels. We can also help folks navigate the loan process for anyone who's interested. And as this next stimulus package comes around, this money goes fast. It's a first come, first served basis. So even though the money is out now, I would advise getting your application together, importantly, determining whether or not you're eligible, and talking to your bank to see whether they issue SBA loans. And if they don't, looking to find an alternative lender. They are out there, but the more you can be prepared to be first in line with these applications, the better. And that is. I went ahead
and I actually in the comments took the link about you and the company, or I'm sorry, the firm, and I dropped them in there so that people can just like click on that and sign up for your newsletter, because it's super excellent, and learn a little bit more about what you have talked about today.
Awesome, thank you. And if we're able to get SBA to change their policy, this will not only affect loans related to disaster relief, but going forward, it could mean small business loans and other benefits available to cannabis businesses, which are going to be critical. So thanks for engaging on this important issue, and please don't hesitate to reach out if we can be of help.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. We have Jackie Vincent up next and running a few minutes behind, so I definitely want to cut over to her. But I just wanted to say, thank you very much to you, because I always feel like I can reach out to you and you've got very helpful information, and I was able to talk to you about the loans. And so I really appreciate your support.
Thanks. Same here. It's been key to this effort. So
thank you.